is there more soldiers on the other side of that EMA? Did they go pick up new soldiers? Because, you know, now that it's weak, to kind of give y'all a little background, right? I love trading. I've done trading for a long period of time, and oh, come on, 4:30. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's go. What up, what up, what up, what up? What's going on? Good afternoon and all that good stuff. I hope y'all had a great trading day. The market's doing all types of interesting moves. If you haven't hit the like, subscribe, or the bell button, this is the perfect time for you to do so. Go ahead and share it with your friends and family. That way they can let you know that I am the greatest. All right, they don't call me JD the Great for nothing. All right, let me go ahead and get back to my humility. We got a couple of trades that I want to go ahead and break down. Costco is continuing to fall. If you were able to get in during the time I kind of explained that we were starting to break out, you will start to see right now I'm peaked out at 500%. I averaged in, took my money off the table, and I did what I was supposed to do. So let's go ahead and move forward. A couple of things that I want to kind of break down is a couple of the alerts that did go out earlier in last week. Let's talk about, actually, let's just talk about all the from the refresh. Let's start there, right? The first one was Intuit. This one was a January 6th contract. As you can see, they did hit the stop loss and things like that happen. But this is another example of, you know, I won't call it manipulation, but I'll call it a sweep. I'll call it anything else. But you can kind of see, kind of like what happened with Costco. They did one more push up, kind of stopped everybody out, but we are getting entries. So if you want to revisit this one, you already know the levels. Looking at some 625 puts going down to the downside. Our take profit is going to be somewhere around the ballpark of 625. If you can hold this 658, which the last 2 hours, and I do apologize, I was supposed to be here before 1:30, but had to run around, do some errands and everything else. But an entry below 658, 660 would be a solid move to the downside on Intuit, and then you could go ahead and take your profit somewhere around 645. If it gets to that 625, the printers will be printing faster than J Powell during the pandemic. All right, just go ahead and give you that. All right, now the next one I want to talk about, it is Triple M. Right? We talked about this in multiple successions, and you can kind of see this was a solid move. We wait for a close above 165. We were in the middle of an order block, but at the end of the day, it looked like we were sweeping the block, and you can kind of see that profit has been taken, especially above this anomaly right here, where we kind of extended to that top area and pushed right back down into this area. So you should have already taken your profit at least at 170, and since they were 170 calls, congratulations on your W. All right, so let's go ahead and keep this party going. Next one is Pan W. That was another one that we dropped. This one was a little bit of a delayed reaction from the time that we announced it. It had to go ahead and find ways for it to close below the level, and that was right here, right, on Tuesday the 9th, right? And unfortunately, we released this on the 10th. So you would have had to get in here or roughly around this week. I did not get in because by the time this looked, it looked like it was really juiced. And I get why that could actually relatively happen. And that's because there was a lot of volatility that was flipped. Fair value gaps was being tested and all that good stuff. If I noticed that we got up here, I probably would have been in it with y'all. But if you got in it, congratulations, good W. A day trade that came through was Google. This one was a very solid one in itself because we were looking for something on the 15-minute in itself, and you could kind of see nice little move over here, good close. We were in the middle of a liquidity sweep and we're testing all the buy side liquidity. We broke a couple pivots and we got all the way to TP1. So if you still held on to this and it expired this week, I will say congratulations. Those things must have printed something vicious. If you did not, I know this chop, it carried it over the weekend, would have been tough, and that's okay. We will find other trades for you. All right. There was a QQQ that we kind of called out. This one was a very solid one as well. It just did a lot of tricky stuff because it kind of balanced here, Then it spiked through, and I tell y'all, when it comes down to carrying things overnight, make sure you take most of your money off. I saw a couple people in the chat. They looked like they carried it. I hope it panned out when it came and gave you that bounce back over here. Hopefully. But at the end of the day, I try not to carry anything overnight, especially QQQs, because they think that can flip at any given point. All right, keep this going. We got DoorDash. Again, DoorDash, we were looking for this thing to kind of drop off. It was sitting on top of a block. I warned you about the block. So it's either small profit or small loss. It is what it is. But if this broke this order block, oh my God, this thing would have printed, because our target was 198 and we were getting $200 contracts. It would have been at least $1 to maybe $2 into the money, and that thing would have printed something relatively clean for you. Let's go ahead and get into Alcoa. Alcoa was a solid one because this one just took off the moment that the announcement kind of went through, because it was based on the parameters over here. But actually, I gotta go to a 2 hour for that. But it was consolidating something vicious, right? So when it broke through here, we got the signal roughly around the 11th. So that was a little after this. If you were able to catch that before the whole entire pop happened, congratulations. You should have got to your TP2, and we're moving on to the next one. The last one I kind of gave y'all, it was UNH. We're waiting for UNH to do its thing until this thing actually, 15 minutes. Not right here. All right. Until this thing really closes under this level, we won't be shorting. And you can see they're just buying the dip, buying the dip, buying the dip. Right now, it's starting to get to invalidated status, and that's okay because it never really gave you an entry. If it did, small loss into that stop loss, and we just live to fight another day. All right. So what else do I have for y'all? Well, there's a couple things I want to kind of run through while I'm here. And the first thing I want to kind of run through is what type of watch list I'm operating with. And I want to give you a few tickers inside of here at the same time. I got a few things that y'all probably could recognize, and there's some that you probably cannot. Like, for example, Eli Lilly. This one is a behemoth of a ticker. This one will show up a lot inside of investor relations and everything else. So that way you can go ahead and invest for a long period of time. So let's look over this on a daily. What does this thing look like right now? It looks like we're sitting right on top of a block. That order block came in very vicious, especially with a fair value gap. They're trying to sweep all that sell side liquidity that came in, but it might be running out of steam. Let's see what happens when it gets up into that upper register, that level, and see if it will continue to hold the 1,000. Maybe they just swept so that way they can get new highs. All right. Another one that's in my list. Let's get something a little cheaper. Let's talk about Amazon. Amazon, this bad boy here, after they spiked out to like 250, 259, it kind of struggled to hold some of those levels. So yeah, I would say anything under 250, I'll stay bearish on it, especially that it was flirting with a bearish divergence, and we didn't get no real extension over here. Let's come over to the weekly, monthly, yearly. Whoa. Okay, so yeah, I think they're going to try to bounce it and finish the year green, but there's a lot of profit taking happening and it's way too violent. That's the reason why it's here. So I would say maybe not a sound investment for the most part, but just wait for it to find a solid base. What else I got in here for you? Let's get something a little cost effective. I got to update this. For some reason, they moved WMT. Where did they put you? WMT? Oh, wow. They moved Walmart to the NASDAQ? Wowzers. Okay, well, I guess they're tech because they do a lot of that sales channel thing through their website. Maybe that's what they're banking on. There was a nice debate on, actually, let me come over and expand this for a second so you can see what I'm talking about. On their earnings cycle, they were explaining how their sales channels are really taking off, but it's all other people's stuff that they're just doing like Amazon-like things. So I did find this relatively questionable, but it looks like the investors are seeing something that I don't. So for the most part, I don't know how I want to take Walmart here. Let me add this to my green list. That's one. Let me add this to my watch list. That's two. And let me go ahead and put you all the way up there where that Walmart is. Got quite a bit here. Come on. Get up there. Get up there. Where are you? You got quite a few tickers in here. All right. So let's get rid of you. Bye-bye. All right. So now, what else I got? Oh, hood. This one here, I don't know if it'll get back to 150. I really don't know. And I'm not trying to take any shots at hood. But the problem that you have with hood is because that 150 psychological level, they got to really hold that 100. You can see they want to retest here, and that can be a problem. So just be patient. Don't do nothing reckless. Yeah, I would say maybe 97 would be a good price to kind of step into it. But we'll see. Netflix. Listen, folks. I'm gonna give y'all the warning. I was gonna short it, and I just had quite a bit of good friends that's in Netflix. I saw that downside is possible, and I just want to discourage people on seeing their thesis and everything else. And I just sat back with my hands up because just in case I'm wrong, and I don't want to be emotionally entrenched into any type of trading. When you get deeper into trading, you'll understand that. And Netflix, I had a feeling was going to pull back. Every time there's a stock split, there is some sense of pullback because the earlier investors are taking their money. It's just the way it is. It's the way of the world. Okay. So you can kind of see nice downtrend and an extension over here. They're breaking structure, and this last line of pivot, if they don't bounce, come on, behave. If they don't bounce off of $82, and I'm talking about violently bounce, and it might be in 2026 that they do this, look for this thing to fall even deeper, taking more of buy side liquidity. And that would suck because I know some individuals that really bank on Netflix. And again, they're a strong company. They're spending a lot of money. They are trying to return money to shareholders. They're bringing in more revenue. And there's just nothing but sky's the limit, especially with their acquisition that they're trying to do with the Warner Brothers deal. But after a split, people start to divest. I'm just telling you this right now. Another one that's also trying to divest a little bit, Warren Buffett sold quite a bit of a chunk on Apple. I think this thing is top heavy. And since Warren Buffett did that, I'm going to start leaning that all this is just nothing but hype. I'm thinking Apple could come back to 240, maybe even 220. So just keep that in mind. 250, psychological. Let me be a little generous. But right now, Apple at 280 is just too expensive. Just that's my take in that. All right, that's 15 minutes. All right, cool. I'm trying not to make these videos more than 15 minutes. I want y'all to get to your day. I don't want to talk in your ear. I want y'all to just go ahead and take your trades. If you want to go ahead and get more information, don't forget to hit me up, JD_the_Great on Instagram. You can go ahead and comment down below. Let everybody know that I bring you some very, very sound information. Share it to your friends and family without any hesitation, and I will greatly appreciate you. This is completely powered by Trade Hero because they make things relatively simple. So go ahead and check them out. That said, I bid you a fun farewell. I am out of here. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.